Hello, I'm James Cridland, the radio futurologist, and this is Radioland, my weekly radio trends newsletter, all about where radio is going. We're sponsored by RSS.com. Thank you for that. And if you would like to listen to this podcast without any advertising, then you can click on that button in the Apple Podcasts app. Carl Sandilands went on air this morning with his paid-for show. It looked to be a bit of a technical mess, and it certainly sounded like one too. Here's a clip of the first 60 seconds or so.
Well, hi. We're off to a clunky start, everyone. Hi, Brooklyn. Welcome. The brand new Kyle Sandilands live program. It is a new invention. It is live. We're all here. And it's a digital mess behind the scenes. Say hello to the man formerly known as Bruno, who is a shell of his former self, who hasn't slept for a week. Bruno.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even, if everything went smoothly, it would have been worth, not sleeping.
Wow. Gosh, his most chummy media partner, news.com.au, called it chaotic, detailed some of the content we all missed out on. Radio Info says the issue was that you needed to watch the video to be able to listen, and also that it wasn't an easy listen this morning, and not just because of the teething problems. 9 suggests it was a disaster, never-ending audio issues that ended up sounding like a drive-through speaker in a thunderstorm. Well, it seems that the content of the show was as much of a disaster as the technicals surrounding it. The tech can be fixed, but can the lurid content? The whole show's online, seemingly. It'll cost you $99 for a year. Not sure I'm going to be bothering with that quite yet. But anyway, to come at some point this week, a deep dive into Kyle's show and what's needed for it to work financially. Elsewhere, Katy Country 93.1 is now using Super Hi-Fi. It's a generative AI system that runs the whole station's playout and scheduling. The station is geo-blocked outside the US, but when I tuned in, it was taking the syndicated She's Country, so I'll be back to listen to whatever Super Hi-Fi is doing. Also in the US, the NAB has joined the Radio Ready Coalition. Historically, US radio organisations don't appear to join global groups like this, so it's quite gratifying to see the NAB's involvement, joining broadcasters from Europe, Africa and Australia. The group is fighting to keep radio prominent on connected car dashboards. KCAL FM 96.7, that's a rock station in Southern California, has fired all of its human talent and will just be playing automated music. The COO of the company claims it'll offer broader appeal for both our audience and advertising partners. To me, I have to say it's unclear what appeal somebody else's unskippable Spotify playlist has, but broader appeal apparently. And AM Death Watch, 2 things for this feature of mine this week. Firstly, in Las Vegas, I've just pronounced it the Australian way, Las Vegas. It's not, of course, it's Las Vegas. Anyway, Odyssey is to shut down 840 KXNT, which is a news talk station. Previously, in 2023, Odyssey Las Vegas shut down 720 KDWN and 1140 KXST. One of those is talk, one of those is sports. Selling the transmitter's site land to a warehouse developer. Programming from all 3 stations will be all scrunched onto HD subchannels of 94.1 KMXB. And in Luxembourg, the 3 former Junglister, anyway, they're big long-wave transmitter towers for RTL, and they are to be demolished with dynamite. They've been there since 1932, though apparently since 1974 they've just been maintained for emergencies. A teenager climbed up on one of them in April last year and got stuck by the looks of things, and the decision has now been made to literally blow them up. The land will be turned into housing. There's also a shortwave transmitter which is apparently broadcasting in DRM on the site. That looks to be continuing so far as I understand it. And thank you to Robin Goldstein, who bought 3 coffees and wrote, "I love your newsletter. I always learn something new, or you spark a warm memory from the past. Thanks." You can be like Robin and buy me a coffee. Buymeacoffee.com/James Cridland is way to go for that. Where am I speaking next? Well, I'm speaking in 3 different places next. At Radio Days Asia in Jakarta in Indonesia. I'm keynoting on radio's international trends and its future and looking after the podcast day as well. Podcast movement in New York City in September, the 14th to the 18th. I have a quick talk about the history of podcasting as part of that. Do see if you can join me in New York City. And not announced yet, but I will. The Audio Academy Festival is having me on October the 1st in London. The first time I've ever spoken at the Radio Festival, or the Audio Festival as it is now. Very much looking forward to talking there, and I'll be talking about the future of radio, of course. And thank you to the many supporters of this podcast and of the newsletter, including Studio with 2 Eyes, Broadcast Radio, Media Results Inc., Media Realm and Meliora, lots of companies beginning with an M there for some reason. Also, Dafydd Furnham, Marty from New York, Gavin Watson, Greg Strassel, Sam Phelps, Richard Hilton, Emma Gibbs, Jocelyn Abbey and James Masterton for being regular supporters. If you would like to support my work in any way, you can buy me a coffee, and there's a newsletter version, obviously, of this podcast if you prefer that. Radioland.email is where to find that. My website has more details about who I am, what I do, and whether I can help you further. That is at james.cridland.net. And until next time, keep listening.